and substantially, the price is going to remain constant and even lower, maybe for the fertilizer.
One would say that some of these proposals are futuristic. What are some of the immediate reprisals that Kenyans could expect? When we're talking about fertilizer subsidy, when we're talking about...
Well, some of these things might appear futuristic. What are some of the most immediate needs that your ministry and the government will be looking into to make sure that Kenyans do not continue to suffer? Some of them are even calling and saying they're buying milk at 60 shillings as of now. They're buying bread at 70 shillings as of now. What is some of the things that the government will do in the short term to make sure that Kenyans do not continue suffering as is?
I think you need to realize that from your assumption, it's not only futuristic, but some of these things are challenges that have been with us for the last few months. The issue of fuel. When there's an immediate reprieve in terms of subsidy that the government will be undertaking every month, that's not futuristic. It's current and it's continuing, and we are dealing with it. Even food production, because if we plant now, using the fertilizer subsidy we've given, in the next 2-3 months, whether you are planting whichever type of crop, you'll be getting the immediate relief. And these are things that we are looking at. But also look at some areas that we've already now either zero-rated or removed taxes. The issue of pharmaceutical product, the issue of vaccine, the issue of a number of things that are well captured in the budget. But importantly, we are not able to highlight all this. But when you unpack, you'll identify the takeaway for the common man. And they are quite generous when you unpack that. Maybe PS can elaborate more.
Yeah, I will elaborate on the point about the takeaways and add to what the Honorable Cabinet Secretary has said. Number one of the things that we have covered in the speech by the Cabinet Secretary is the question about pending bills. Because pending bills constitute a reduction in liquidity. And so by urging ministries, departments and agencies to make sure that they pay all the pending bills is to make sure that there are resources that are going to be available so that where businesses are hurting, there is a solution for them in terms of more resources being made available. I just also want to add on the issue of us addressing the issue about fuel. And it is something that is ongoing now, and the effects are going to be felt immediately, even during the budget period. And so we have listened to what Mwananchi has said by the time that we crafted the budget, and we have taken that into consideration, because indeed we want this to be a very participatory process. Thank you.
Yeah. We talked about Kenya Airways.
There are two of you now, I don't know whom to listen to. Okay, you.
What do you think of the accusations that
hoped and jumped some key processes outlined in the law, thereby ending up making this an event rather than a process?
Yes, mine is on Kenya Airways. You touched on it, and the funding that's going for the airline will help it in business transition. One, we see a reduction in the number of staff once the transition happens, and are we going to see maybe a reduction of the routes that the airline flies?
Yeah. I just want to your question. As National Treasury, we do not just come from anywhere and go to Parliament. It's a process of due consultation, and we have the necessary approval from the Speaker, who is the head of Parliament. All the necessary process, steps, procedures have been duly followed. And we had actually even sought to seek authority or support and understanding of the rest of the East African community so that we can present our budget earlier because of election. And this is not the first time. Last election, as we are going to the last election, we also did the same. All the necessary process documentations were duly submitted to the National Assembly, discussed, debated. The budget policy statement, the debt management strategy, all these documents were forwarded to Parliament in good time, and therefore all the necessary processes have been followed. On the issue of KQ, Kenya Airways is a very strategic investment. We are not only looking at the flight, but we are looking at other auxiliary investments that come up with it, including the export of flowers, including as a regional hub, Kenya as a diplomatic headquarter for the region, all these, and it's also the connections from here to the rest of the country. And by having it remain afloat, it's going to complement other business activities in this country. And so it's one institution that we cannot afford it to die. That's why we are supporting it, but we are doing it from the perspective that we must streamline, including the cash injections. We are not just giving money for the sake of it, but we want to make sure that there are certain reforms that are effectively and painfully undertaken, including reducing the number of flights, including even the number of staff, but also looking at the general governance structure, streamlining so that they remain not only accountable, but also relevant in the competitive business environment.
In the bill, I have proposed to increase the specific rates. You have said in your speech that I have proposed to increase the specific rates of excise duty for a number of products. What are these products that you're increasing by 10% to generate additional revenue for the government?
Okay.
You're a bit vague in that one.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to unpack those within the finance bill. These are basically nothing to do with the essential product. They are all targeted items on luxury. They have really nothing to do with the general population of this country.
Probably since we have an opportunity with you,
you had asked about the amount of allocations. The allocation we've been doing for the last, even this current financial year, and the reform process comes out with a package. We've already identified a transaction advisor. They have come up with an elaborate roadmap in terms of what needs to be done and the costing of the same, and the same have actually been onboarded in the budget. Last one. Yes.
You urged that they should be cleared as soon as possible. But 2 days ago, governors raised concern over the unremitted 148 billion to the counties. We're just under 2 months to the end of the financial year. What word do you have for the county governments who still are waiting for the 148 billion?
Foremost, I think as you understand well, we have a budget, we have allocation, but also depends the flow of revenue that we generate. Sometimes we fall behind by a month or so, but to a great extent, unlike 2020, most of the counties we are within. Maybe if there's a delay, it's about 1 month. But what has been happening is that we have a number of counties, significantly over 50%, who are just stocking their money in the account, but the movement is not there. Huge balances that's not moving. And we are just wondering when there are other competing priorities in terms of funding or projects that are quickly moving, we give projects a priority to those areas. And those counties, quite a number of counties are up to date, but there are a number of counties that are not making any moves in terms of the balances at the central bank, their own individual accounts. Money not moving is because of their inability to implement projects within the timelines required. So we are urging them also to spend their money so that they can continue receiving the disbursement as required. But we are aware that on average, we have not funded up to about a month. There are a few counties up to 2 months. And the 2 months are those counties that are not utilizing their money. Last one.